Welcome to Three Things. This next guest is a former and future Morning Drive radio host. He's the current host of one of the most popular White Sox podcasts called Sox In The Basement. A man that has been very generous sharing his advice with the 108ers, even some called from the infamous Mancow Muller. He's the kind of guy that'll punch Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind in the face if it gets the job done. I'd like to welcome to the stage Chris Lanuti. Chris, welcome to Three Things, baby.
What's up, man?
That may be the greatest intro I've ever gotten. You got the Stephen Jenkins thing where I punched him in the face into the intro, and it's one of my prouder moments. I mean, Third Eye Blind in the face in front of his band. Like and I still got into the show. That's my favorite part of the story.
The band was probably really proud of you and happy that you did it.
I don't think they liked him very much.
Hey, just for you, Chris, I want to point out what I'm drinking tonight. It's a Jitters. It's a cream ale, a coffee cream ale with vanilla. So even in the warmer months, I can find things that are coffee flavored to drink.
That's awesome. I got a gift for you guys too. I wore the Sox in the Basement hat just to start, but
Yep.
another 108.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Chris, it's been a while since we chatted. We had that epic podcast the very start of the year. We're the two hardest working podcasts out there. We were out there. It was Jan 1 that we were doing that?
It was January 1st. That was the two hardest drinking podcasts at that point.
My goodness.
Other than the Stephen Jenkins story, I remember very little of that day.
I blacked out that day too. Yep. On the way home.
Yeah,
That was great.
I went
That was
together
awesome time.
till we got away from your family, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm fucked up."
Trust me, my family noticed. They were,
The best.
it was like, those guys were drinking a lot. And I said, sweetheart, I would have drank with them, but then the show would have sounded terrible. Like, I wanted to make sure I got through my show before we got to yours. And I was like, well, I'll just sip one. And then all I get is my Sox Summer just picking on me like, oh, you lightweight. I'm on my third beer.
It worked really well for me.
Dave couldn't even take it. Dave just left. He stayed for about an hour, and he's like, fuck these guys. I can't hang out with these dudes no more.
After Dave found out that you and him basically hung out in the or not you, your
Treasy.
brother.
Yeah.
Treasy. He hung out in the same dive bars playing guitars, thinking they were going to be great musicians one day.
Well, I never
Damn, scorching the earth takes over here
I
from
get
Mr. Lanuti.
I get to swear on this show, right?
Oh,
Of course,
yeah.
yes, it's encouraged.
Yeah. All right. So, can I show off what I'm drinking?
Go
Yes,
for it.
absolutely. What is that?
This is an Open Outcry, open interest beer. It's a New England IPA.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
nice.
sent this over today because they were on one of my other podcasts, and they're one of the proud sponsors on that one. But this guy, he's over on 109th and Western, and I think he may have been the one guy that figured out how to thrive as a bar restaurant during coronavirus. Like he had a guy in a bunny suit hiding beers on people's front lawns on Easter. It was amazing. He's got a promotion
Awesome.
every other day. The place is nonstop, food being taken out of there. He's the guy who was like, you know what? Coronavirus, cool. I'm going to come up with a way to do it. And it's amazing. They drop off these jugs on your porch like the milkman you order online. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Is that the
Free plug for me tonight.
Hey,
Chris,
that's fine.
Is that the joint that has a truck in it that does the pizza?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've been there. That place is great.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place. And what's funny is that he's just the brewer. He just runs the brewery.
Okay.
There's another guy who's a restaurateur who actually pays to have that food truck.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't even worry about the food. I mean, they're selling it and everything like that. But I mean, he just gets to focus on the beer, and it's one of my favorite spots on the South Side. So I'm drinking his beer tonight. That's his plug.
Very
So,
nice.
yeah.
It looks
Well, I'm
good.
looking at their beer menu to see if anything is coffee infused. I will get back to you as soon as I know.
Everything you have is coffee infused.
I feel like they did have they had a stout that I had. I don't know if it was a coffee stout, but
No,
I
it's
like stouts,
they have a Russian
I love
Imperial stout. if you
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
and I resemble a stout.
Hey, The camera makes us all look stout. I saw that picture online that was put up on Twitter just a few minutes ago. I was like, wow, the camera adds 40 pounds to my chin. I'm gonna have to
Yeah, and you're the skinny one.
Sit back like this. I look like Jabba the Hutt. I was like, I gotta sit up.
That's a special setting on our Zoom, so everyone looks a little thicker, just like us, so we don't feel bad about ourselves. That's Treasy putting that up there, Chris. I apologize for that.
Yeah, in reality, all of us are very thin and physically fit, ladies.
Yes, it's just a fat filter.
All right, Chris. Well, this is 3 things, and that was thing number 1, our intro for you. Thing number 2 is a question that you'll throw around to the group.
All right. Well, if this one has already been answered or asked, please tell me. I'll come up with another one. But you guys. Like, I was thinking about what I wanted to ask you, and I thought to myself, like, they're always happy. Like, they always are, like, very non-confrontational, like, happy guys who drink, and they get along with everybody, and it annoys me. So what I wanted to do is I want to ask, when somebody comes to the 108 and meets you guys or hangs out in the section, what or who type of person, you don't have to give me a name, pisses you off the most that comes into the 108? Like, what really gets under your skin when somebody comes into your section while you're watching a ball game? Because 1, I want to know so I don't do it. 2, I'm hoping that I don't hear an answer that describes me. But I want to hear what pisses you off the most when somebody comes into your section during a game.
Man, I'm gonna cop out and go first. Because I'm just gonna make it easy. If I'm in a mood or if I'm with my kids and I don't want to talk to anybody, like fan-wise, and I'm not saying that we have hundreds and hundreds of fans that come down and see us every home weekend. I'm not saying that. But, like, I will sit away from Section 108, and I will not put on my 108 gear. I will not have anything 108 related, so then I won't have to talk to people. But I don't feel like as though we've had, like, many bad experiences with, like, any type of our fans. I think it's fresh. We're still pretty fresh, so I think nobody really hates us yet. But it's probably coming that somebody will approach us. But I also think size-wise, like, people don't want to fuck with us. They're not going to fuck with us to our face. So.
Oh, no, not at all. I would only talk shit behind your back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that was a cop-out answer. He couldn't.
That's kind of a bullshit answer.
I'm sorry.
That's very 108-ish. Because
that's very 108, right?
You to man up and tell me about something or some kind of person or something that happens that pisses them off in the section.
So here's my pet peeve. It's I get sometimes it's not. Everyone's got different things going on, but if you come down to the section and you get in on a couple rounds, like, you're like, oh yeah, I'll have a beer, I'll have a couple beers. I don't care if you actually buy us a beer, at least offer it. At least mention that hey, the next one's mine, and then leave. Even do that. That's fine. There's been times where, like, people have come down and they're, like, sitting there, and, like, if I go, hey man, let me get you a beer, all good. You don't owe me shit, right? But if our beer vendor comes around and he's like, who's in? Because he's gonna give the big circle, and you go, like, I'm in, and you take a round on the house, at least go, hey guys, next one, I'll get 1 beer or something. Don't just, like, go, like, oh, I'm in the 108. This shit's free.
It's an all you can drink whenever you show up.
Well, I bought a T-shirt and a hat. I mean, I got to get that beer from you.
And, like, honestly, Chris, we probably won't even let you. Like, if someone was like, hey, I'll get this round, we'll be like, no, don't worry about it. But, that's like, if you don't even fucking, like, it's the old, like, when you take the girl out on the date, right? Like, you expect her to reach for the check. Right. You're not gonna. You have no intention of letting her pay, but you want to. But there's part of you that's like, you should at least reach for this check.
Should want to split it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll back up your story a little bit. Just from the first time I came into your section, okay, Beef Loaf came over and sat down. We couldn't get close to you. You were coming over to say hi. We couldn't get close to you. So we grabbed 4 seats because it was me and Dave and our 2 wives. And he came back. He sat there for like 2 innings. He didn't need to do that. We were just coming over to say hi. And he was buying beers. And every single time I tried to buy him a beer, he wouldn't take one. To the point where I was like, now he's pissing me off because I look like a like he's trying to buy him a beer and he won't. And he's buying drinks for my wife. And I'm like, okay, I just met this guy. Either he's way too nice, he wants to take me to he's hitting on my wife. What's going on here? So you guys are very generous, but I don't think people should be taking advantage of you. That's for sure. That's a dick move. And it should be called out publicly, like on your podcast. Like, that's the fun of it. Pick on people. I pick on people all the time on my shows. Like,
yes, you do.
The shreds, especially my local show here in Evergreen Park. I had somebody get into an argument with me at something. I brought up, I didn't call him by name, but most of the neighborhood knew I was talking about. I was just, I like to fight.
Chris, this is my shocked face.
I mean, from as long as we've known you, Chris, I know one thing. I don't want to get on your bad side because I know what you can do. I know you rip some shit to shreds. I don't want you getting in on my skeletons. I don't want you to know nothing about all that shit.
And if you notice, sometimes it's on the slide. Like, they don't even realize. Coming in from the side, they have no idea. Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm a little more sensitive to this stuff than these guys. There's a bunch of shit that pisses me off when people come down there. Now, most people don't do it, but I really don't like when someone that we don't know that well is kind of standing up in the way of the game, kind of trying to make, if you want to come down and say hi, there's no seats, sit down on the ground, get the fuck out of the way. I don't like people putting their feet up on the seats. This is our fucking house where we have our season tickets.
That's annoying. But those usually aren't our fans.
That's true. Another pet peeve of mine, and this is okay if it's your first time coming down to the section, no problem. Once you get even a little bit known, if you don't say hi to my wife and Teresa's wife, you are on our shit list officially, okay?
Yeah.
And that's something that happens, and that happens a little too often. So anyone watching this, that will piss Treasy and I off to no end. So do not do that. You know us well enough to come down and say hi and hugging and kissing and shit. You better make sure you say hi to our wives.
Especially if you squeeze in.
If you want to slide in, and then they're right there.
Because a lot of times we'll leave seat 3 open, and Cornsy's in 4, I'm in 2, and that seat will be open, and people will come and squeeze in and just turn and what? Hey,
sorry about that, dude. I didn't know.
You can never fit in that seat, you fat ass.
Yeah, your bag fits there. That's about it.
And what you guys are leaving out is you got wives, and if they're anything like my wife, and my wife watched me in rock radio when we were dating, so she saw a lot more of this. But women don't like it when other women come up and start hugging their husbands. They don't care.
Well, you have that problem too often.
Yeah, we don't.
With their wife, Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We don't get that problem too often, though, thank goodness. There's a lot of dudes. My wife has said, hey, who was that dude you were just hugging on? And I'm like, that's Sam Mendelson. He bought me 17 beers the other night. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about it.
No problem.
What about you, Chris?
What pisses me off?
Yeah, at a game?
At a game?
In your bar? In your driveway? When you're at the grocery store or what?
What pisses me off at a game are the people that don't understand that there's people there to watch a game. I really hate, I like sitting in the outfield. I really do. I even liked it, before I would come over and find you guys in the 108. My dad originally had his season tickets where the bullpen bar is. When the ballpark first opened, we had tickets in the second row there. They don't even exist anymore because it's a gap where they now have the bar area. But that's where we were originally. And we sat there. I saw them clinch in '93 there, and we had that was where I used to sit. But I always liked the outfield. I like the view from the outfield. I like the fact that I get to yell at a player and they actually could hear me a little bit more. I really like picking on the opposing player. But what bothers me is I'll go, and now that I got the kids and stuff, and you get a group that comes in the outfield. You always have groups. They're all standing there an inning having a freaking conversation in front of me, and I'm constantly yelling hey, sit out. I know you're at the reunion. You got a matching T-shirt, the such and such family. Just get the fuck down. I'm watching the ball game. You know, there's
That's
a whole
totally right. That's what the concourse is for.
Oh, hang on, I'm like, what are you standing up for in the 10th row, blocking everybody for?
Yeah.
And half of them look at you indignantly, like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? Oh, you're uptight. No, sit down. I'm watching a ball game." Like, I always thought baseball should have the same etiquette as hockey. Like, you go to a hockey game, nobody walks down in the middle of the action. You get a half inning so many times. You don't get as many stoppages in hockey. And why is it that we think it's okay to just stand in the middle of the aisle and walk up and down and block the game in a baseball game? It drives me nuts. But then again, I'm an old fogey who actually enjoys the action of a baseball game. I had my son tell me the other day, like, I only like to watch it in person. It's boring any other way. And, like, you know, the generation behind us, I don't know into the game as we are, but I love it. I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree.
No, I'm with you.
I think
I really hope Wally Money was listening to that because he needs to sit his ass down a lot.
Sit down, Wally Money.
He's up and down all the time, up and down.
well, that was thing 2. Now, thing 3 is going to be a question from Treasy.
All right. So I think this is the perfect group for this one. What will happen first in our lifetimes? Will there be another Hawk Harrelson or will there be another Howard Stern? Which will happen first?
Wow.
That's a tough
Who
one.
starts on that one?
Whoever wants it. I feel like my Sox Summer's ready for it.
I'm ready. Like, I was telling you guys this the other day, or just yesterday. Howard Stern's not even Howard Stern anymore. He's a lot different. I was listening to an old recording when he was talking. He had the band Hanson in the studio, and I remember the interview, but I didn't remember it being as hilarious as it was. And it could be because they're good too, but like he just had David Spade on again for the second time in 2 months, and it's like I don't need to know what David Spade is doing like that often. Like
Right.
I need to check in on David Spade like every 3 years. Like I don't need to know like
Not even
month
that much,
by month
really.
how he's doing. So like I definitely think we're closer to. We were probably going to get a Hawk Harrelson before we get a Howard Stern, but it is not just because of like Howard, but like nothing is really shocking anymore. Like we're not. There's no shock jocks. Like, and people are trying to do things like to be outlandish and crazy, and you can smell that, right? Like it's not. When girls are shooting ping pong balls out of their hoo-has, like live on the internet for $3 a minute, it's like, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, you can't like, oh, I had this girl like lay her speaker down and she masturbated on it. No, that's like lame now. So like, I just don't think we're going to see that. So I'm going to have to go with the Hawk. And yeah, who knows? Maybe Jason Benetti, maybe he's got something in the tank. He's going to start fighting people over, who knows?
I'll raise my hand on this one so I don't cut anybody off. I agree with him. There'll be a Hawk Harrelson before there's ever somebody like Howard Stern, because it'll never be the way that it was in broadcast radio and entertainment that ever again. There's too many options, and there's too many rules now too. I really don't think that anybody gets a chance to be creative on broadcast radio. And I don't think that they really get a chance to kind of go out there and do what they want to do. And even if they do something, they're really going to end up being a copy of Howard. I can't imagine anybody coming up with anything that is unique and would shock people, but also be like something that other people would follow. Like, you look at the tree, like the coaching tree of Howard Stern. You always talk about like coaching trees in the NFL and stuff. The coaching tree of Howard Stern will go on forever. Everybody's got some influence in Stern. I mean, even I never saw myself as a Stern copy, but every once in a while I would do something and be like, yeah, Howard would have done it that way. Or I kind of got like the idea. I was like, maybe I asked the question. And the reason the interview went that way is because somewhere in my mind I was like, oh, Howard Stern would go right here, right now. And I would go do it. But I mean, that his coaching tree is long and distinguished. With Hawk Harrelson, there's plenty of room for broadcasters to get old and start saying crazy things. There will always be who will get old and start saying crazy things. And let's be honest, Hawk was first original, and like, he had his little catchphrases and everything from his can of corn to his nicknames, the one dog and everything else like that. But there's also the next phase of Hawk where he got crazy. Like, he just started saying, he's yelling dadgummit and He won't talk for an inning because he's pissed off. And like, that'll come. You're going to have a guy like get older and not care. I mean, you could talk about Hawk Harrelson. You could also talk about Bob Uecker. He gets aggravated. You could talk Vince Scully. I mean, he does it at a different level, but he gets pissed off sometimes on a Dodgers broadcast. I've listened to it, and he's outspoken. You just need a guy that's in there long enough that it'd be hard to remove him, and he can start talking shit. And once you get a guy like that isn't afraid he's going to lose his job, then you'll get another Hawk Harrelson. And it'll happen in some
that's why
couldn't happen in the White Sox organization, though, right now, because I don't think anybody's going to hang around long enough to get that kind of leeway. If Jason Benetti went off and started yelling right now, I don't know if Jason Benetti would be back. So.
But I think that's part of it, right? Is like there's only 30 opportunities for that, right? There's not a lot of those jobs, and you could tell by the people that they're ushering in after the Vince Scullys and after the Hawk Harrelsons and after the Bob Ueckers that the organizations are just a lot more pussy about this. And like I love Jason Benetti. He's great, but like a lot of the dudes that are coming in are not like homers for the team. They're talking heads basically, like they're there for the job of doing play-by-play, which honestly, Hawk wasn't great at play-by-play, but he was super entertaining, and like, I don't know that is, if I'm putting the job description down, I don't think they're looking for a Hawk Harrelson. You're right. Someone may age into it. They may, that's the way that it could happen. But I think with so many outlets, like of podcasts and like XM radio and regular radio still there. Like there's like sports talk radio is still there. It's not going away. Like with all these different outlets of how you could get on the air. Like I just feel like we're all sitting here going like, how could you be unique? How could you do something different? Like that is the ripest time for someone to do some shit that just blows our minds. And so I kind of feel like it's going to be, there's going to be someone like that who's going to bubble up, right? I'm terrified of what they're going to be doing. And I'll probably be, I'm probably
because one of my kids will be listening.
Exactly. I was just going to say, we're probably aging into the people that'll be like, this is ridiculous. I don't want any of this. But like a new generation of people will be like, this is great. Fuck that Howard Stern old fuck. I don't know. Just like when I was a kid, when I was, 13, 14 years old or whatever I was. And I was like, I'm telling my dad, have you seen this fucking Marilyn Manson guy? This guy's crazy. And he's like, yeah, I grew up with Alice Cooper. Like, I know, like I watched Alice Cooper on TV when I was a kid. Like, this is the same bit. What are you falling for here? I think that it's going to be kind of similar. Like someone's going to come along and is going to be speaking to a brand new audience. And we're all going to be like, we grew up listening to Howard Stern. This is not original shit. And it's just people are going to fucking love it. Like no one's ever done it.
I agree with you, Teresi, but I think the problem is, well, not the problem, but the difference is it won't have the magnitude that Howard Stern had because of the way it works now, because of all the different outlets. And like Chris was saying, you have so many choices. Right. There'll be a podcast that blows up. Like Rogan's podcast isn't
Rogan,
right?
Yeah.
He's not like Stern really, but he has a giant following like that. But even a following that big is still kind of smaller than everyone in the entire country listening to the person, Like it's still sort of, it's like the old TV ratings when 70 million people were watching network TV shows. Now, like a good following is a couple 100,000. I mean, like, because you're just so segmented everywhere. I agree with you, though. Baseball broadcasts are so neutered these days, and no one has an opinion on anything. And I think they're just hired that way. I think they're just hired in there to be just go ahead, do the straight ahead broadcast. And you hear some of the knuckleheads on radio even saying, that's local sports talk radio, I like that they don't, that they're nothing like Hawk, no, that's terrible. I want an opinion. Give me something here, a reason for me to actually listen to what the fuck you have to say. Otherwise, I don't need anyone telling me anything. I'll just watch the goddamn game with just the ballpark sound. Like, let's be entertained or not. But I think teams are trending towards, don't say anything risky, and if you do say anything against anyone, then we'll find some other kid who went to Syracuse because they're all trying to get these jobs and they're all picking them from Syracuse. So we'll get another fucking boring bullshit guy. Not Benetti. You're right. Benetti's good. He's better than those guys, but he's not opinionated like that. I don't ever see him developing into that person either. I think they're more likely to get a Stern than you are to get a Hawk. I think it's just outdated, especially for the sport. No one's going with any personalities in those booths.
One of the things I think is going to contribute to this, and I'm going to give myself a shameless plug. I don't know if you have a little ding or something like that when I do it. On Sox in the Basement since opening day, I started doing a play-by-play broadcast of like simulated games. They take about like 90 minutes, and I'm play-by-play. And I get a lot of people to send me messages, and the overarching theme of every message I get is, thanks for doing this. At least it takes my mind off the fact there's no baseball. But everybody's always like, you sound like some guy from 20 years ago. Like the old guys love it. They're like, because you get pissed off when something goes wrong. Because I do. I'm like in the 8th inning and somebody screws up something. I'm like, this guy's a bum. How the heck can you drop that ball? I'm yelling about poor Larry Garcia. He isn't in there. It's a video game. And I'm like, Larry Garcia on a catch. How do you drop that ball? It's terrible. Like in the game that's coming out tomorrow, Alex Colome blows the game in the 9th inning. And we go 13. Which was annoying because I'm sitting here forever watching a simulated game to 13. And I'm like, this is terrible. I hope we win. And he blows the game in the 9th inning. And I'm like, this guy, how do you do that? That's terrible. Like, what is he throwing there? I'm like, this guy could pitch his way out of a wet paper bag. And like, people will send me messages like, I love it. I laugh my ass off when you get angry. And like, because I think people still gravitate to like the opinionated broadcaster. And the shame is, I don't think there's going to be very many of them left. And I think they're going away because teams don't like somebody saying they don't like something. And it's becoming a PR thing. But then again, that's why we have podcasts and we survive in the sports landscape because we're not cooking. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. Because people want to hear a voice that isn't, state's media, basically, the state's news. That's why people, no offense to Garfine and the White Sox talk shit, but a lot of people are like, I don't want to listen to that because I know they're a mouthpiece for the team,
If you don't want to offend them, I'll offend them, okay?
Go for it, yeah. I don't have anything personal against them. I just would never do a show like they do a show. I would never want to be muted like that. I would never want to be, well, this is how you have to talk about this. Fuck that. We're going to say what we think about something, and that's it.
Right.
Thank you.
At least until you have, like, 200,000 reasons to be like, maybe I will just say what they want me to say.
Yeah, it makes sense. I could never take his job. I always say that. I say that on my show. I could never do Chuck's job because there's no way I could bite my tongue. I couldn't do it.
And there's no way he's making $200,000 a year. No, I just made that up, guys. No. Don't quote me on that one.
Chance in hell. Okay.
No, I think it would be infuriating though, right? Like in any job
to do that. Yeah.
In any job, it's brutal if you just have to constantly bite your tongue, and that's more often the case in sports than any other job, right? Because like if you're at a company that's operating like Kruger Industries, like it's not going to be around long. You're not going to have that job for very long.
Right.
But like a baseball team can suck forever. Chris, you deal with that guy who does the Pirates podcast. Like he's got to know about that. Like that team is always bad. Like they've been rebuilding since Doc Ellis left. So like,
yeah, well, what's fun about
his last trip?
He just needs somebody to be on the air with him. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know anything about the Pirates, but you know what? I've watched enough of White Sox baseball in the bad years that I can totally get in on the conversation. Like I can yell about a GM. I just picture it's like, oh, I'm just yelling about Kenny Williams here. Kenny move the guy from Pittsburgh just did. And I just kind of go off. And what's funny is that he always tells me, he's like, it feels like you're really following the team. I'm like, no, bad GMs are the same everywhere.
Does Dave have a impression of the Pirates general manager too, or no?
His Kenny Williams impression is borderline racist.
I'm so glad he did it on our podcast. I was so happy that he
was so excited when we were like, you could absolutely do this on our podcast. Just go ahead. We want to hear it.
You always tell him, like, don't do that. It's funny. On Saturday Night Live, you'd be like, that's dead on. But like, you can't see the face he's making. So when you listen to it in your ears, you're like, I think that's racist. And that's the hard part. You got video, I think you can get away with it more than over the microphone.
I was out in California, and I was at a Sox Angels game, and you could go behind the Sox dugout. You could go out into the concourses. They were outside, so you could smoke out there. So I'm out there burning probably a Marlboro Ultra Light at this point in my life because I had matured, and I didn't need the heavy reds anymore, and I wasn't smoking lights.
I got you.
Right to the Ultra Lights. Because why smoke nothing? You know, you might as well smoke next to nothing. And guy's like, oh, you're a Sox fan. And I was like, yeah, Sox fan. He's like, man, that Ken Harrelson, I love that motherfucker. He's like, he's such a homer. He says whatever the fuck he wants. He just does it. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. He's like, we don't have that here. And I'm like, you're right. And like, and people will be like, who's the announcer? Who's your announcer for your team? And you don't know any other baseball announcers. Like I know, I think what's his nuts? Isn't it Keith Hernandez is an announcer for the Mets?
The Mets have 42 announcers.
Yeah,
there's like so many few. Like there's very little name rec, and Benetti might have a good shot if he ages into it, because he is doing baseball, basketball, football, like he's doing everything. So he's got a big enough name out there.
But that's part of why he can't, right? Like part of his job is the ESPN job. Right. So you can't be going out and saying crazy shit and then being like, oh, I'm going to go do this ESPN basketball game.
That's why he has
Bill Walton.
Good point.
Yeah, exactly. Walton on so he can do that stuff. Like, I think it scratches the itch for him to have Walton around him because then you can go crazy and then nothing Benetti says sounds ridiculous. I gotta go off. You know, that's that. You know, here's the thing. I think Steve Stone and Jason Benetti do an excellent job of taking shots at bad decisions in the game, even by Renteria, and bad decisions by the White Sox overall. But they say it in a very sideways manner of how they do it.
It's subtle when they're doing it. It's very subtle.
Them do it, and that's a big. You know what? That's something that even Harrelson never did. Harrelson got to be such a homer that he wouldn't say anything bad no matter what was going on. The TW, and Adam Dunn's going to turn it around any time now, and we can all see that he sucks. I mean, there are certain things that's what annoyed White Sox fans. I don't think Sox fans were annoyed by the homer thing at the end with Harrelson. It was like some shitty player would be up there, and you're like, this guy sucks. And he's sitting there telling you how he's going to turn it around tomorrow, and he's like, blah, blah, blah. Kenny's got him going doing this, and they got such and such is going to work with him. And you watch, he's going to be a star. And you're like, no, he's not, Hawk. He's not going to be a star. He's terrible.
I saw him have a great batting practice. Yeah. That was always a good batting practice.
Yeah, you know who's going to turn it around? Mark Teahan.
Yeah.
There'd be something like that during the game. It's like, no, he's not. He's no good.
His Gordon Beckham's going to start hitting 320 any day now. What?
He's due. He's due.
He's got that TW.
He's due.
Chris, thanks so much for joining us. This Three Things has been fucking awesome. Look forward to getting together with you again, both at a ball game and hopefully on the podcast airwaves eventually. We can do another epic for everyone. A lot of people love that 3-hour one we did with you, where you were spinning a few yarns for us and telling us some stuff about the old radio days.
Couldn't win 6 hours.
Yeah, that was a long, long day of drinking. I mean, who goes out and does a drink-a-thon that starts at 2 p.m. on New Year's Day? That was dumb. We were way too old for that. I didn't recover.
Summer's right.
Well, thanks, guys. Before you go, I want to say I appreciate you coming on. You don't get it. It's a thrill for me to come on the 108 stuff. I really like what you guys do. And whenever I see you doing something, I'm like, oh, God, I hope they ask me. I really hope they ask me. I just love talking with you. And I don't trust myself to go on a lot of shows because I don't trust a lot of people. But I always feel comfortable out here. You guys do good work.
Well, wait till you're on our next show called really Three Input.
The feeling's mutual, Chris. Great talking to you, brother. Look forward to seeing you sometime soon, baby.
Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you soon, man.